This is video 2 of lesson 12 in module 4, where we are talking about the distributive property and learning about distributing expressions. So in the last video, we finished up with this example 2 here, and now we're ready to move to example 3. In one of our earlier units, we had worked on the distributive property with area model and how we could separate these pieces out here and then find the area of a rectangle. So this is write an expression in expanded form that is equivalent to the model below. So right now we have this as y groups of 4x plus 5. But if we expanded it, if we found the area of this rectangle, it would be length times width. So it would be y groups of 4x, and I guess I could also write it 4xy, plus this would be 5y. So what factored expression is represented in this model? That's when we have our y groups of 4x plus 5. And again, it's called the factored expression because here's one factor, here's the other factor, y times 4x. Those are the two things we're multiplying together. And then here's one factor, here's the other factor, y times 5. That's why this is the factored model. Then it says, how can we rewrite this expression in expanded form? Well, if we go ahead and distribute or pass out this group of y to both of these places, just like we did up here, we could have 4xy plus 5y. So it comes from, again, this length times width, y times 4x, and length times width, y times 5, 5y. And our last example here is write an expression in expanded form that is equivalent to 3 groups of 7d plus 4e. So this is where we know we have 3 groups of 7d's and 4e's. So if I was going to draw it out, my model would be 7d, 4e, and then I would have 3 of those, 7d, 4e, 7d, 4e. That's what it means when we have 3 groups of this item right here. The other way we could write it in expanded form is to go ahead and distribute that group. So if I distributed 3 groups of 7d, how many d's do I actually have? There would be 21 d's plus 3 groups of 4e's. How many is that? That would be 12 e's. So there's my expanded form. So now it is your turn to go ahead and create a model for each of these expressions below. So that would be similar to something like this. And then write another equivalent expression using the distributive property. So this is a time where they give it to you in the factored form, and your job is to come up with the expanded form. That's the equivalent expression. So you're going to go ahead and do 1, 2, on all of these on the back, and when you're finished with those, you will check back in to see if you are correct. If you're struggling or having problems, come see me in my classroom and I can help walk you through it a little bit more. Please do these on your own and check back when you are finished. If you are back with me, it means you have finished your work and you're ready to check in, or maybe you want to check in with problem 1 to see if you did it correct before you move on to problem 2. So when I create a model for 3x plus y, that means I have 3 groups of x plus y. And it's okay if your picture of your x and your y look different because none of us know what x is. So x could be smaller, y could be bigger. I just had to pick a shape and I just wanted them to be different than each other. So no matter what I picked, for x, I did 3 of those, and for the y, I did 3 of those. So I had 3 groups of x plus y. Here it is when I put them together in the other way, it's x, 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 so 3 x's plus 3 y's, y, y, y. Now we're ready for problem 2. When I have 4 groups of 2H plus G. So I need to do 2 H's plus G. So I have 2H and G, and then I have 4 of those. So I showed 4 groups of that. So how many H's do I have then? I have 8 H's and 4 G's. So that would be 8H plus 4G for the expanded form of that distributive property. And again, I hope that you can see how did that 8H relate here. So if I'm looking at it here as 8H plus 4G, and I'm looking at how did I get here without the model, hopefully you see that it's 4 groups of 2H's, which is 4 times 2H, which gets me my 8H, and then 4 groups of G, which gets me my 4G. So on the back, if you read the directions, it says to simply apply the distributive property to write the equivalent expressions in expanded forms. It did not require models anymore. If you drew models, that's fine. That's really good practice. But at this point, they're hoping that you can transition from that visual and really see in your head that this means 8 groups of H plus 3. So if you have 8 groups of those, 8 groups of H would be 8H. 8 groups of 3 would be 24 items. Same thing here. If you have 3 groups of 2H plus 7, then that tells you that you have 3 groups of 2H's. 3 times 2 is 6 H's, plus 3 groups of 7 is 21. Then here we have 5 groups of 3x plus 9, so we would have 15 x's plus 45 y's. And here 44h plus 12g, because we have 4 groups of 11 h's and 4 groups of 3 g's. Then we did our area model here. So this was my length and my width. So we knew that it was J times 7K plus 12M. Or we could do individual boxes here and do 12 times 12M. I'm sorry, J times 12M and J times 7K. So that could look like 7KJ plus 12MJ. It's also okay if you did 12MJ plus 7KJ, because we know that addition is commutative, so it doesn't matter the order that we add those in. And last but not least, if we distribute a group of A, that would be 9B groups of A, and we don't know how many is A, so it's just 9AB plus 13A's. We can't go any further, so that's as simple as we can make it. If you have finished that and you still have extra time in your day, you may go to Prodigy Game or you may go to gregtangmath.com. And I would prefer if you played Espresso. If you are still working on extra math, it would be a great time to also finish an extra math lesson to get some practice with those basic facts that can only help you with your greatest common factors and some of those other pieces. Make sure you get your homework from your teacher.